My name is Olivia Harper. My story starts on the night I was supposed to feel proudest of myself, and instead I found out just how far my own mother would go to betray me. We were at this nice Italian place in Columbus, my graduation dinner from Ohio State. I was still in my dress, my honor cords around my neck, everyone clapping and cheering every time the waiter brought something out. My mom sat across from me in a navy dress that I knew she couldn't really afford, smiling like she was the star of the evening. To everyone else, she looked like the proud single mom who'd sacrificed everything so her daughter could be the first in the family to graduate college. Then I watched her slip something into my drink. I didn't see it directly at first. I saw it in the reflection of the restaurant window behind her. I was laughing at something my stepdad Brad said, and my eyes drifted past my mom's shoulder. In the glass, I saw her hand hover over my champagne flute, fingers pinched, and this little white cloud fall into the bubbles. She glanced up, checked no one was looking, then pulled back like nothing had happened. I stopped laughing. The room went sort of muffled. I just stared at that reflection and watched the white dissolve into my drink like it had never been there. My first reaction wasn't to scream or snatch the glass. My first reaction was, oh my God, she's doing it again. Because a couple of months before, I'd mysteriously blacked out at home and woken up in the ER. I'd come back from campus for the weekend. Mom made this big dinner, poured me a glass of sweet red wine to celebrate almost being done. I had a few sips, a couple bites, and then nothing. Next thing I knew, I was under bright lights with a nurse asking what year it was. My mom sat in the corner, crying and telling the doctor I was overworked, anxious, maybe having some kind of breakdown. The doctor said there were traces of a sedative mixed with alcohol in my system. He asked if I was on meds. I said no. My mom jumped in like she'd been waiting. She used to take something for anxiety. Maybe she forgot, she said, and gave me a little warning look. I was groggy and embarrassed, so I let her talk over me. They kept me overnight and told me to see a therapist. I told myself it was a weird mistake. Some mix-up with glasses or a lab error. I didn't want to believe my mother would ever give me something without telling me. Then, 2 weeks before graduation, I got a letter from a law office in Cleveland and everything started to click. It was from a lawyer named Thomas Lawson. He represented my dad. The dad my mom always said was useless, broke, and died of a heart attack when I was a teenager. The letter said he'd set up a trust for me to be released when I completed my bachelor's degree. They were writing to congratulate me and ask for a meeting. The amount? $82,000. My hands shook so hard I could barely hold the paper. My useless father had quietly saved 82 grand for me, and my mom had never said a word. I called the number, half expecting it to be a scam. The receptionist knew my full name, my dad's, our old address. She said they'd tried to reach my mom over the years, but mail bounced back. They finally tracked me through my university. When I called my mom to tell her, her first words weren't, "I'm so happy for you." They were, "How much?" 82, I said. She laughed, this weird, too loud laugh. "Well, aren't you a lucky girl?" she said. "We'll have to make sure that doesn't get wasted." "We?" I repeated. "I mean, I've been paying for everything all these years." She rushed. "Roof, food, gas. We'll figure it out together." "The lawyer said it has to go into an account in my name," I said. She went quiet for a beat. "Sometimes lawyers say things," she snapped. "Doesn't mean that's how it works in real life." After that call, she started texting more, calling more, asking if I was sleeping, reminding me how fragile I'd been that semester, bringing up the hospital every other sentence. "You scared me so bad, Liv. Maybe you should come home for a bit after graduation. Don't rush into handling anything big like money." So when I saw her hand over my glass at my graduation dinner, I wasn't shocked. I was horrified, but some part of me had been waiting for proof. Back at the restaurant, I picked up the champagne flute. Everyone around me was watching, expecting a toast. My mom's eyes were glued to me. Her shoulders were tight. She needed me to drink. I raised the glass. "To Mom," I said, forcing a smile, "for always believing in me." A couple of people laughed. My mom's expression flickered, just for a second, like she was wondering if I knew. I tilted the glass to my lips and didn't drink. I'd had a lot of practice at parties pretending to sip and letting it slide back into the glass. I set it down, mostly untouched. Her gaze dropped to check the level. When she saw I hadn't swallowed much, her jaw tightened. "Liv, you barely touched that," she said, too casually. "Come on, it's your graduation." "I'm pacing myself," I said, picking up my water instead. My best friend Jade leaned over and whispered, "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." "Just overwhelmed," I lied. Under the table, my hands were shaking. I opened my phone, set it on the table like I was checking a text, and quietly hit record on the video app. I angled it toward the center of the table, hoping it would catch anything weird. A little later, when my mom was distracted talking to Brad, I reached out, grabbed the flute, and clumsily knocked it over. Champagne spilled all over the white tablecloth. "Liv!" my mom snapped, way too fast, way too sharp. Then she covered it with a laugh. "Look at you, lightweight already." The waiter rushed over to mop everything up. While he worked, my mom watched every drop disappear like it was liquid gold. "Do you want another one?" the waiter asked me. "No, I'm driving later," I said, cutting off whatever my mom was about to say. When the mess was cleared, I grabbed one of the damp napkins, folded it, and slipped it into my bag with my heart pounding. I didn't know exactly what I'd do with it yet. I just knew I needed something physical that had touched that drink. After dinner, Jade drove me back to my apartment. We parked out front, the streetlights making little pools of yellow on the pavement. I sat there gripping the napkin in my bag like a lifeline. "She put something in my champagne," I said finally, staring straight ahead. Jade turned off the ignition so fast the keys rattled. "What?" "I saw her in the reflection," I said. "At the restaurant. White powder. I didn't drink it." Jade just stared at me. "Are you sure?" I told her about the ER visit, the sedative the doctor found, how my mom had basically told everyone I was on the edge of a breakdown. I told her about the trust, my mom's reaction, the way she suddenly cared way too much about my mental health. Jade sat back, eyes wide. "She's trying to make you look unstable," she said slowly, "so she can get control of that money." The words made my stomach drop. Hearing it said out loud made it too real to deny. I grabbed one of the napkins from the spill, I said, pulling it out. "I don't know if there's anything on it, but—" Jade stared at it. "My cousin works in a lab at the hospital," she said. "Not crime scene stuff, but she runs tests. I can ask her, quietly, if she can check it for anything off." "Would she do that?" I whispered. "For you?" "Yeah," Jade said. Then she looked at me seriously. "But if it comes back with anything, what are you gonna do, Liv? This is your mom." I looked down at my hands. "I don't know exactly," I said. "But I know one thing. I'm not gonna let her ruin my life to line her pockets. If she wants to play games with my sanity and my money, I'll play back. Smarter. Legally." The next morning, I did something I probably should have done years earlier. I pulled my full credit report. I sat at my tiny kitchen table in my campus apartment, coffee going cold, and opened the PDF. When I saw the first page, my vision blurred. There were credit cards I'd never applied for, store cards for places I never shopped, a personal loan from some sketchy online lender, all in my name, all opened in the last few years, all tied to my old home address. By the time I'd scrolled through everything, my body was shaking. Over $20,000 of debt, a $7,000 loan, late payments, accounts and collections, my credit score trashed. I thought maybe it was some stranger. Then I saw the contact number on a couple of the applications. It was my mom's cell. I called Jade, barely getting the words out. She was at my place within half an hour, hair in a messy bun, eyeliner smudged. "She opened all this in your name," Jade said, scrolling, her face hardening. "While you were away at school, using your social, your birthday, everything. My whole life, she's been the one who handles the mail, I said numbly. Anytime I grabbed it, she'd say, just bills, nothing for you. You need a lawyer, Jade said. Like yesterday. I can't afford one, I said automatically. You have a trust coming, she reminded me. And this is identity theft. This is serious. Her mom had a friend at a legal aid clinic, and by that afternoon, I was sitting across from a woman named Amita Patel in a cramped office downtown. She was calm, kind, and terrifyingly sharp. I told her everything. My dad's trust, the ER visit, the graduation drink, the napkin, the credit report. Saying it all in one go made me feel like I was reciting a bad TV script. Amita listened without interrupting, fingers steepled. When I finished, she said, "What your mother is doing is financial abuse and quite possibly medical tampering. It's not just bad parenting, it's criminal." The word criminal made me flinch. She's my mom, I said softly. I don't want to send her to prison. This isn't about revenge for the sake of it, Amita said. It's about protecting yourself. Right now, your credit is destroyed. Your medical records say you're unstable, and there's a significant amount of money about to land in your lap. Your mother appears to be setting up a case that you can't handle it so she can step in. We're going to stop that. She laid out a plan. First, we'd put a fraud alert on my credit and dispute every account I didn't open. Second, we'd get my hospital records and see exactly what was written. Third, we'd contact the trust lawyer, Mr. Lawson, and flag that my mother was not to have any involvement. And fourth, if that napkin came back with sedatives on it, we'd talk to the police. While we're doing this, she said, I need you to be very careful. Don't confront your mother yet. Don't accuse her. Keep acting like the slightly overwhelmed, grateful daughter she thinks you are. The more comfortable she feels, the more she'll reveal. You want me to play along, I said. Yes, she said. You said you wanted to play back. This is how. A couple days later, Jade's cousin sent us a text. Not official, but yeah, there are sedative traces on that napkin. Same class as what they found in your ER results. I stared at my phone, stomach flipping. It was one thing to suspect. It was another to have a chemist confirm it. I went online and requested my ER records. When they came, I spent half an hour just staring at the screen. Under Family Report, it said, Mother reports patient has history of anxiety, possible prior panic attacks, difficulty coping with academic stress, episodes of confusion. All stuff I had never said, ever. My mom had been rewriting my mental history behind my back. When I called Mr. Lawson to tell him what was happening, he wasn't surprised. Your father had concerns about your mother's spending, he said gently. That's why he was so adamant the trust go directly to you, no matter your age. He asked me specifically to be cautious if there were any signs of pressure. Hearing that, it felt like my dad was reaching out from the past, trying to warn me. All those years, my mom called him irresponsible and selfish, and he'd been the only one thinking ahead. While Amita started the credit dispute process, I did my part on the ground. I answered my mom's calls, let her fuss over me, let her repeat her favorite lines. You've always been so emotional, Liv. I'm just worried you'll do something impulsive with that money. You know I'll take care of it for you if you're not ready. I started texting her things like, I don't know if I can handle all this, and what if I mess it up? Every time she replied with, that's why you need me, or you're not stable enough yet, I took screenshots for Amita. I also went back home for dinner one night, like she kept begging me to. Brad was on a run, so it was just me, Mom, and my little brother Ethan. She made roast chicken and poured me iced tea. The second I took a sip, I knew something was off. Just a hint of bitterness that didn't belong. This is really good, I said lightly, putting the glass down. Different tea? Same as always, she said too fast. You're just sensitive after all those meds. When she went upstairs to help Ethan with homework, I poured the rest of my tea into a tiny rinsed-out travel bottle I'd brought in my bag on purpose. My hands were shaking so much I almost spilled it. In the bathroom, I opened the medicine cabinet. Behind the painkillers, there it was. A prescription bottle with her name on it for the exact sedative that had shown up in my blood work. Filled 3 months before my ER trip. Only a few pills left. I snapped a photo of the label, my reflection in the mirror white as a sheet. That second T sample also came back with sedative traces. Between that, the prescription photo, the ER records, and the texts, Amita said we had enough to take to the police if we wanted, but she suggested one more step first. We need her on record, in her own words, talking about controlling your money and describing you as incapable, she said. If we can get that, it makes everything else much harder for her to deny. So we set up a financial planning meeting. I told my mom I'd found a really good financial advisor through a friend, someone who helped young grads manage big chunks of money. I said I was nervous about the trust and wanted her there. She sounded almost giddy agreeing to come. The meeting was in a conference room at Amita's building. My advisor was actually one of her colleagues, Raj, who normally handled elder financial abuse cases. There was a hidden recorder in the ceiling vent. From the second we sat down, my mom started performing. She's been through a lot, she told Raj before he'd even asked a question. Hospital, stress, you know. I just want to make sure she doesn't get overwhelmed by this money. Raj nodded like he'd heard it all before. He asked me about my goals, my job plans, my student loans. Every time I hesitated, my mom jumped in to answer for me. Eventually he said, "So, Olivia, you're going to receive this trust. How do you feel about managing it?" I dropped my gaze like we planned. Honestly, overwhelmed, I said softly. After everything with the hospital, I don't know if I trust myself not to screw it up. My mom grabbed my hand dramatically. Exactly, she said. She's brilliant, but fragile. I've been telling her she shouldn't handle this alone. It's too much pressure. Raj nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes, in cases like this, people appoint a trusted family member to help. Joint management, or even a temporary power of attorney, until they're more confident. Is that something you've discussed? My mom's eyes actually lit up. She tried to keep her tone casual. I've mentioned it, she said. I told her I've been managing money for years. I'd be happy to take responsibility, at least until she's more stable. Raj looked at her. Would you be willing to take legal responsibility for her finances? Of course, she said without a second of hesitation. I mean, I already basically do. I pay things, I manage things. I've even had to open accounts in her name because she's so all over the place. If I didn't, her credit would be ruined. My heart was pounding so loud I thought it might drown her out. There it was, her confession, on tape. Raj tilted his head. You've opened accounts in her name? Just to help her, my mom said quickly. She knew, mostly. She's forgetful lately. She probably doesn't remember signing. I couldn't help it. I broke script. I never signed anything, I said quietly. She whipped her head toward me. Yes, you did, she snapped under her breath. Then, louder, to Raj. See? This is what I mean. She gets confused. She doesn't remember things right. It's so sad. I looked straight at her. I remember waking up in the hospital, I said. I remember you telling the doctor I was unstable. I remember tasting something off in my drink last week. I remember watching you put white powder in my champagne at graduation. For the first time, true panic flashed in her eyes. You're twisting things, she said. She's always been dramatic. The door opened. Amita walked in with a woman in plain clothes who flashed a badge. Ms. Harper, the detective said. I'm Detective Ramos, Columbus PD. We'd like you to come with us to discuss some questions we have about possible identity theft and medical tampering. My mom's mouth opened and closed. She looked at me like I'd stabbed her. You did this, she whispered, to your own mother. No, I said, my voice shaking but steady. You did this. I just stopped pretending I couldn't see it. They didn't drag her away in handcuffs or anything dramatic. Real life isn't like that. They took her statement separately. I gave mine with Amita next to me, along with copies of everything we'd collected: the credit report, ER records, photos, lab results, screenshots, the recording from the meeting. Detective Ramos asked at one point, "Are you sure you want to go forward with this? It will change your relationship with her permanently." I thought about waking up with an IV in my arm, my mom telling a doctor I was basically crazy, that white swirl going into my champagne, the debt in my name. "The relationship she wants with me is one where she owns me," I said. "I'm okay losing that." They filed charges for identity theft, forgery, and a lesser charge related to endangering me. At the same time, Amita got a protective order in civil court. My mom was banned from touching my credit, opening anything in my name, contacting my school or future employers about my mental health, or trying to interfere with the trust. Sitting in court for that was one of the strangest experiences of my life. My mom in a plain blouse, hair pulled back, doing her best sad, wounded mother face, Brad behind her, looking like he wanted to disappear. Ethan hunched next to our aunt, staring at the floor. My mom's lawyer argued it was all a misunderstanding, that the accounts were family decisions, that I was confused. Then Amita played the audio clip of my mom bragging about opening accounts in my name because she's so all over the place. You could feel the air change in the room. The judge signed the order. It was like a cord snapping. For the first time in my life, my mom didn't have her fingers on my future. In the criminal case, she ended up taking a plea. She admitted to the identity theft and forgery, didn't contest the endangerment. She got probation, restitution, mandatory counseling, a record that will follow her. It wasn't some huge prison sentence, but it was accountability. At her sentencing hearing, I had the chance to speak. I almost didn't, but then I thought about how hard she'd pushed to control the version of me everyone saw. "Your Honor," I said, voice echoing slightly. For most of my life, my mom told me I was emotional, dramatic, overreacting. When I blacked out, she told the doctor I was just stressed. When money came into the picture, she told me I couldn't handle it. The truth is, she needed me to be weak so she could feel strong. I felt her glare on my back, but I kept going. She didn't just steal my name for credit cards. She stole my sense of reality. She made me doubt my own body and my own memory. People say, "She's your mother," like that should excuse it. But love doesn't look like this. Protection doesn't look like this. If a stranger had drugged me and opened accounts in my name, no one would question me being here. The fact that we share DNA doesn't make it less wrong. My voice cracked at the end, but I didn't cry until I sat down. Afterwards, outside the courthouse, my mom came up to me. Her face was tight, angry. "You're happy now?" she hissed. "You ruined my reputation. You turned your brother against me. You took everything." "I took back what was mine," I said quietly. "My name, my credit, my life." She laughed, this ugly, bitter sound. "You wouldn't have a life without me," she said. "You'll regret this, Olivia. You'll see." "Maybe I'll regret a lot of things," I said, "but I won't regret not drinking what you kept trying to pour down my throat." She stared at me like she wanted to slap me, then turned and walked away. Brad shuffled after her. Ethan stayed where he was, next to our aunt. He looked torn up. When I walked over, he wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "Did she really, he asked. "The drinks, the cards." I nodded. "Yeah, she did." He swallowed. "I found some of the bills," he said. "In her drawer, with your name. I thought it was normal. I didn't get it." "You were a kid," I said. "You weren't supposed to get it." He scraped his shoe on the concrete. "She tried to sign me up for a credit card last month," he admitted. "Said I needed to build credit. I almost did it. I'm glad I didn't." I put my hand on his shoulder. "She's not going to use you like that," I said. "Not now. We've got paperwork, orders. You're going to college with a clean slate." It took a while, but eventually the trust lawyer released the funds to me. With Amita's help, I opened an account that only I controlled. I used part of it to pay off what real student debt I had, part to fix the damage to my credit, and a chunk to get a small, safe apartment with Jade. The rest, I invested carefully, exactly the kind of thing my mom insisted I was too fragile to do. Sometimes, late at night, I lie there thinking about how easily this could have gone differently. If I hadn't seen the reflection that night, if I'd just chugged the champagne, if I'd believed her version of my episodes and doubted my own memory. She could have convinced a court I needed her to manage my life. She could have put her hands on every dollar I ever made. Instead, she has a record. She has to pay back what she stole. She has to live with the fact that the daughter she thought was weak used the law, the same system she tried to manipulate, to shut her down. People love neat revenge stories where the bad person gets exactly what's coming to them in one dramatic scene. My revenge was slower. It was paperwork and therapy and saving screenshots. It was sitting across from my abuser in court and telling the truth when she expected me to stay quiet to keep the peace. But the most satisfying part wasn't watching a judge scold her or hearing the charges read out. It was the first time I realized I could make a big decision about money, about my future, without hearing her voice in my head telling me I couldn't. The night of my graduation, when I watched my mom tamper with my drink, I played along. I acted like the naive girl she thought I was. I let her believe I'd swallowed whatever she was serving. Now, I don't drink anything she hands me, literally or figuratively. I don't buy her version of events. I don't accept her guilt or her shame or her story about who I am. She wanted my trust. She lost it. She wanted my money. She never touched a cent of it. She wanted control over my life. She ended up with a court order saying she has none. That's my revenge. Not just that she faced charges or had to pay me back. My real revenge is that the girl she tried to paint as broken is standing on her own 2 feet, degree in hand, credit repaired, future wide open, and she has absolutely no say in any of it.